Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, we're going to talk about all things cybersecurity with a nationally known cybersecurity expert. His incredible story just ahead.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
So each year in this country, we spend billions and billions of dollars to protect our data, and yet the bad guys keep getting in. It fascinates me on how can we stay one step ahead of the bad guys. To talk about that today, Alain Espinosa. He's a friend and he's a national cybersecurity expert. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Jeff, for having me. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely. Well, let's start at the beginning of your journey. When did you first get into IT?
Yeah, so about 30 years ago, I had a unique opportunity where I was actually a bank teller at the time.
Cool.
Met an individual at an association meeting, if you will, and just mentioned to him that I was interested in computers, as I put it at the time, right? And he took me under his wing, taught me a few things here and there, and then got me an interview at a small company, consulting firm. He worked in New York City. And I got to tell you that story, though.
Yeah, please.
So, and I don't do this anymore, Jeff, but at the time I lied on my resume, profusely lied on my resume. Okay.
Don't try this at home.
Yes, do not. Yeah, absolutely. It's good advice. And so I showed up to the interview, and there was a particular technology at the time that was really popular and hot and whatnot, and I put it on my resume. I didn't know it. So I'm sitting with the CEO of the company, and at one point he stopped the interview and he said to me, "You don't really know this, do you?" And I thought, holy smokes, like I've been caught. Right. This is so embarrassing. And I just said, "You know what, sir, I don't, and I'm really sorry." And then he turned to me and he said, "You know, I like you." And I thought, this is really strange, right? How does that happen?
Yeah.
You know, from lying to somebody in their face. And he just told me that, you know, when it came to technology, especially at the time, that he could find a lot of very talented people that had the technical expertise and experience, but he couldn't find good communicators. And he said he felt that I was a good communicator and he hired me.
Love that.
And so that was my first job, believe it or not. So, and then it's, you know, taken off from then.
Okay, when people talk about IT, kind of that's the broad category. Cybersecurity is an area of expertise within IT. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, cybersecurity is essentially the focus on securing digital assets.
Yes.
And information.
Okay, we said off the top of the show that the bad guys keep getting in, and I liken it to a hockey goalie. The hockey goalie can stop 100 shots, but all they need sometimes is one shot to get through for them to win the game. Is that how cybersecurity is?
Essentially, unfortunately, that's correct, right? I liken it to, think about a house, right? And just kind of securing your house. You have locks on the doors, locks on the windows, maybe you have an alarm system, you have some cameras.
Yes.
That's the same thing, you know, when it comes to cybersecurity, if you will. If we could draw an analogy there, you know, the house being the data, right, that we're securing for companies or organizations around the world. And yes, unfortunately, there are a lot of details involved, right? It could be that there's a window that has a particular vulnerability.
Sure.
There's a particular way of opening it.
Right.
Or maybe cutting the glass.
Right.
And getting in that the alarm won't catch. And those are the exploits, if you will, that a lot of the malicious actors utilize. So it costs companies millions upon billions, if you aggregate it, of dollars, right, around the world to help secure their assets. And it's a constant battle.
Sure. All right. Without naming the companies you've worked for, talk about your career. 30 years is a long time.
It is. Yeah, I can't believe it's been that long, but yes, indeed. So yeah, like I said, my career started in IT. I started at a help desk in New York City, basically getting yelled at because I didn't know what the heck I was doing. But it was, you know, trial by fire, and I learned. I hunkered down and thought, wow, this is really what I enjoy. I really want to learn technology and be able to help people and use those communication skills, right, to my advantage. So through that, I've worked for some global companies,
sure,
right, and some Fortune 100 companies and such. And then about a third of the way through my career, I realized, wow, this cybersecurity thing, which was starting to pick up steam, if you will,
sure,
right, or at least more publicly
yeah,
pick up steam, I thought, this is what I'm all about. Security has always been in the back of my mind, including the fact that I once locked out my family from their house when I was a kid. True story. I was probably like 8 years old, and I locked everybody the heck out. We had to funnel a friend through a basement window. Apparently, I didn't do a great job, but at least a sufficient job. It's true. Yeah. So I pivoted over to cybersecurity, and it's so exciting for me because I get, frankly, bored easily.
Sure.
And there is never a boring day. No days like the other. And like I said, unfortunately, the bad guys, if you will, are at it constantly. So we're at it too, with a team of really smart and talented people and helping to protect organizations.
So over your long career, was there a call in the middle of the night, like 2 a.m? Oh my God, we've had a data breach? I mean, does that stuff happen?
It does happen. Yeah, I do get calls after hours that certain events have taken place.
Sure.
That need to be followed up on. Some are not as bad as others, if you will. But yeah, it's almost like a doctor.
Yeah.
Being on
always
call.
on call. Yeah. You've risen up to the top of your industry, and there's a major award that you won last year. Let's go ahead and put that on the screen, and I want you to talk about this award.
Oh yeah, thank you. HMG Strategies is a fantastic organization that helps connect executives with vendors and with service providers, and they honored me last year with an award for Leadership Award. Jeff, frankly, I look at it as certainly not my own doing. I've had a lot of great people that I've surrounded myself with, a lot of great mentors, a lot of great team members that make it happen. So it's not me. I got the award, but it really belongs to a lot more people than certainly me.
And I know something you're very passionate about is helping the next generation. So you do a lot of mentoring, don't you?
I do, yes. That passion really comes out of two places. One is the short version of the story is my high school guidance counselor told me that I should really not even bother with college. And she thought I should just go get a job in the main ave, retail. Yeah. And she didn't think college material was basically going to amount to much of anything, right? And that, believe it or not, inspired me because I thought, I don't think so. I want more to life. My parents didn't come to this country so I could just, sort of settle, right? So I wanted more. So that's part of the inspiration. The other part of the inspiration is what I mentioned earlier about the individual that took me under his wing and helped me to get that first IT job. And so I just look at folks and think, there are a lot of people that are very capable, right? They just maybe don't know it.
Yes.
Right? Or they need a little encouragement. So I love mentoring folks, not to tell them what to do, not because I think that I know best or that I know everything, because I know that I don't.
Sure.
I know that much.
Are we doing a pretty good job as a country of getting kids excited about IT in high school?
Yeah, in my estimation, it's getting better with a lot of STEM and STEAM programs.
Sure.
There's still gaps, I would say.
Yeah.
I think I think one area that could be improved, right? I'm hoping will be improved, especially in the next several years, is helping kids understand that there are some great non-traditional paths to having fantastic careers. And it could be in a lot of things, but if we're talking about IT and cybersecurity, I know lots of people that don't have their degrees. I've actually mentored through an organization called Year Up, a fantastic organization that has a non-traditional approach. They take students in and it's not college. It's about a year program where they train them and equip them in not just technology, but also the soft skills as well.
Wow.
And then let them loose. So,
I've heard studies that say that, we're running, hundreds of thousands of IT workers short every single year. Yeah. So you really couldn't print enough degrees to satisfy the need for cybersecurity. We're going to show some video from our library, and I want to make a point with your help is that many people see cybersecurity as somebody with a hoodie in the basement, but we have nation states that are going after us. Talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So those folks with the hoodie still exist, quite frankly, if you will. But the biggest threat, I would say, now are nation states, like, frankly, China, Russia, North Korea, Iran, and some others, right? But those are the top players. They have a plethora of resources, somewhat unlimited almost, right? If you think about the budget, if you will, especially of a communist country, where, someone's just pointing their finger and saying, we need to allocate X amount of resources, period. End of discussion. They don't need congressional approval for such. So, and those countries, unfortunately, are hard at work 24/7, 365
Right.
at trying to, not just trying, but indeed being successful oftentimes in gaining access to intellectual property
Yes.
of U.S.-based and other companies to the tune of billions of dollars that have gone out the door in intellectual property, as well as military information and corporate information.
Yes.
And other corporate information.
And I've often said that you don't have to fly planes into buildings anymore to terrorize America. You could take out the power grid. You could take out all the ATMs. You could take out a water system, and it would cause a huge panic. And they're actively working on that, aren't they?
They are. And so are we, which is the good news, as in at least the United States of America, right?
Yes.
The government's very aware and very actively working to mitigate these threats. I've worked on a particular program called InfraGuard, which is a partnership with the FBI, private sector partnership,
Right.
to help protect critical infrastructure. And so there are efforts. That's the good news. There are concerted efforts underway
Yes.
to help protect us. But even if, Jeff, even if they can't necessarily, or they don't necessarily get through, just the fear can be sort of good enough to some degree, right? If they can instill fear in us. So I'm optimistic, though. I'm optimistic that we're getting in better shape, and we're going to fend off these threats.
Sure. And I know one way they get in is they go through a contractor. So you might have a closed system, but then you get a vendor in to do some work, and now they're attacking the vendor. Talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So third party and fourth party, we could dig down beyond that, right? Threats are top of mind for a lot of organizations now. It's one of the programs I work on, frankly, and because it's a weaker link, if you will.
Sure.
Right? You could be a corporation that has potentially millions of dollars in a budget to help secure the company's assets. But if you're dealing with another company that's much smaller, they're making that widget.
Right.
So the company that's making that one widget,
Right.
that's a small company. They can't afford
Sure.
the resources to secure themselves or have programs as mature as perhaps a more bigger company. Those are the concern. That's the concern. That's where the concern is at.
Sure. I saw a story a couple of weeks ago about how some people using AI are creating fake profiles, and they're applying for jobs. They're trying to get into a company like a mole. Is that a real thing?
It's a very real thing. I get hit up on LinkedIn constantly by fake profiles looking to connect with me.
Yes.
It's a very real thing. People are using AI to even hold their interviews.
Wow.
So if I was doing, of course, not in person, obviously, but if I was doing a remote interview, let's say with you, and I could put up an artificial intelligence generated image that, believe me, it will fool you.
Wow.
It will fool you. Some are, some you could tell, but others are much more sophisticated. It could fool you. You could take someone's voice and overlap it.
Wow.
And make it say whatever you want. So it's a very real threat. And actually, malicious actors are using it to get into companies by interviewing, like you said. They're also using to impersonate company officers.
Wow.
So I won't mention the company, but that did happen to a company not long ago in Europe.
Okay.
That an officer was impersonated. And I think it was roughly around $10 million went out the door as a result.
Sure. How often is it an employee clicked on something that he or she shouldn't have clicked on?
That's quite common, unfortunately. Technology keeps getting better to help address that threat. But at the end of the day, like I like to say, our coworkers and employees are our biggest asset. I hear some of my colleagues say that they're our weakest link. I don't care for that terminology. Sure. Because I think we need to train them and encourage them that they are our biggest asset. We need folks to be vigilant.
Alan, in the last 2 minutes, I want you to look into the camera on the left and talk to the young person who's considering a future in IT and give them some words of encouragement.
Yeah, absolutely. There are lots of options. There are great paths that don't have to cost a lot of money, that don't even have to take a lot of time, quite frankly. There are a lot of, let's just call it self-study roads that you could take. A lot of jobs available. I don't see it going anywhere anytime soon. So I think we'll continue. It'll evolve, right? So it may not look like it does today, maybe 5 years from now, or not even maybe, for sure not 5 years from now. But a lot of opportunities. And what I say is follow your dreams, be diligent, have a plan more than anything else. I think that's the most important part is get some folks to help you develop the plan, have a plan, and work that plan. If you don't have a plan, then obviously it's just a dream.
And don't lie in your resume, folks.
And don't lie in your resume.
You will get busted.
Indeed.
All right, you've been an amazing guest. We're going to end with his LinkedIn page. We'll put that on the screen so you can get in touch with Alain Espinosa. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate
You bet. That's it for now. We'll see you next time.